Hello, my name is Jonathan Tenario, and today I'm here to ask the question: is there water on Mars? Was there ever water on Mars? And today my guest is Jacqueline Martinez.
Hi.
Hi, full disclosure, Jacqueline is my little sister, so she's a family member. All right, Jackie, so I'm just going to ask you several questions on Mars and its water. And so, first thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you know about Mars?
Well, what I know about Mars so far is that it's like one of the planets, obviously, and it's also very red. And as a kid, they would like tell me it was lava, but there's like a lot of I know there's a lot of like debate wondering if there's life on Mars or not. But I know Mars is one of the hottest planets out there, and a lot of people still want to know how they're convinced there's people there. That's all I know.
Okay, very interesting. Is there water right now on Mars? Do you believe so?
Honestly, I feel like there is. I really do feel like there is, and I don't have an explanation towards why, but there's just like something in me telling me that there is. Like there's no way, absolutely no way that there is no water on Mars. Because like, how is Earth gonna be the only planet that has life? It doesn't sound right.
Well, there's this thing called biosignatures, and they're usually indicators of life. Oxygen really is like one of the big ones, and methane, and those big biosignatures. Weirdly enough, water isn't a biosignature. So even though some places might have water, it doesn't mean that will have life. But there's always a huge chance, especially when we're talking about Mars. So that brings me to another point: is was there water on Mars? We're not talking about now. We're talking about way back then, billions of years ago.
I personally feel like there has been life and there has been water at one point on Mars.
Do you know why did Mars lose most of its water?
No, actually, I don't.
So what we've been learning in class is that Mars once had a strong magnetic field, like Earth, like most of the planets have them, and that's how we're able to keep the atmosphere in together, all the water in, how we able to protect us from the sun's rays, the solar winds, and all that. Thing is with Mars, throughout its time, it was losing that magnetic field. As core was getting colder, a magnetic field gets weaker, and means more water is getting evaporated, or dries it up. Also, that makes Mars more colder since the core is getting colder as well.
Yeah. So I actually didn't know that. I know that the water was evaporating.
Do you think there's still parts parts of the planet that has water still?
I mean, like, okay, so you say some water was evaporating, like majority of the water was evaporating. It doesn't necessarily mean 100% of it. Like, it could most likely be like 98% of it. There could still be a little bit of water there that people still haven't like gotten the chance to discover yet.
Yeah, and actually, cool part about that is actually in the northern and southern poles of Mars, there's these huge ice caps, almost like here on Earth, and it shrinks and grows depending on the Martian seasons. So there's some similarities between us and Mars, but you think there's anywhere else, maybe even smaller, um, that is on Mars, water sources potentially?
Um, Most likely. I mean, I'm saying like there's no like I can't personally say that there's 0%. Like there has to be a little bit of percent out there, but yeah, there has to be. Like it's not possible that there's no water. It's just not possible.
There's even some strong evidence that there's even underground frozen water on Mars. In particular, there's even a slab of ice between the northern pole and the equator. It's about the size of Texas. Near the southern pole, there's a lake a few miles down underground of the southern pole, and it's about 124 miles wide, and that's about the equivalent of 2,182.4 football fields.
Jesus Christ.
It's smaller
Sorry.
little lakes around there. So it's bigger evidence of actual water.
Like can't they like at one point connect to the bigger ones and make them even bigger?
Yeah, and that's actually the big question. We don't know that they're actually all connected. We just know like based on like because they're using some advanced technology that it use here on Earth for our
Hmm.
glaciers. We're using that same technology to see the ice in Mars. How do you think it's possible that these lakes are actually able to be there? They're not frozen. They're actual like liquid lakes. Like what's in the water that could probably help them?
I mean, water helps a lot, so that's
But
definitely one of them. Um, but if I'm being honest, I don't know.
that's all right. It's all right. Yeah. I mean, like again, there's all this stuff is just barely being discovered like in the past like decade or so. But one of the big components that the scientists and NASA believe is salt. That these like lakes are very very salty, and
Like
so that's
Galveston salty,
yeah yeah like Galveston salty, but like even like worse.
you put water and salt, it like become a clump.
You think there's like 100% agreement among scientists on this
No,
discoveries?
obviously not. There's never going to be 100% agreement on science. Like if you ask a scientist now in modern day about something in the past, they're not going to be 100% sure with it. And if even if you ask one that's like two scientists that are like scientists now, like right now as we speak, they're not going to
Mhm.
agree on some things. Because like yes, science is true, majority of science is true, but a lot of people have their own opinions and like they get into like, this is right, this is wrong, but I wouldn't say 100%. I would say 50-50.
On like the initial lake, the lake that we talked about. Yeah, at first like in 2018, like they found just like the one huge lake, and of course over the course of years they found like tiny parts of the lake like around it. As you said, scientists some of them didn't agree and criticized it and said that like an exception, like a unique situation, like there's probably like a volcano underneath the lake probably that
Mm-hmm.
keeps it warm enough. Honestly, like how should NASA like proceed like with all this that they've learned so far? Is it worth it for us to find out more about Mars?
Yes. Yes, it is. It honestly is. I mean, they spent all these years trying to learn more about Mars. I don't see why stop now, especially when it's 2020 and it's a lot of random things are happening. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect NASA to stop now. I would actually encourage them to keep on studying and keep on looking into more detail in Mars.
And I guess my final question to you is it possible that life could have existed on Mars in its past?
Yes, because if you think about it, how is there just going to be life on Earth? Like, I don't. That doesn't make sense. Like like I understand, but there has to have been at least somebody living on Mars. Because if if we can discover all this, we can at least discover that there was some type of life, even if it weren't human, on Mars. You know,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
I firmly believe that there was some sort of life happening on Mars at one point.
Yeah, it's like again the possibility is always endless. You never know like what we might find, especially like in I think within like the decade, um, humans gonna like are we're planning to land on Mars, and so that could open a whole new way. Maybe we could find some type of life there. Yeah.
Hopefully, they do it carefully because that's kind of scary.
Wait, how so?
I mean, isn't it like burning hot?
Yeah, but it's also pretty cold as well because it's like it's a desert planet. Like actually, it's like a really thin atmosphere, and again,
Mm-hmm.
like the core is all cold, so it's gonna be very cold. But thank you so much, Jackie, for agreeing for this interview. I appreciate it a lot.
You're very welcome.
As seen in the interview, the prime focus of this video is the discovery and strong evidence of water on Mars. The modern scientific consensus leans towards the recognition that there is water on the red planet, with breakthrough coming from NASA. NASA was able to determine this conclusion by detecting hydrated minerals flowing downhill and leaving behind dark streaks in their path. A pushback on this discovery in recent years was the argument that the slopes going downhill may in fact be dry sand, since Mars itself is a very dry planet on its surface. We know that Mars did at one point have water billions of years ago. from what data and the science community have gathered over the decades is that there's a high chance of water existing today on Mars. Each discovery, such as the infrared images of ancient river deltas, clumps of rounded pebbles resembling stream beds on Earth, and NASA's Mars rover Curiosity, uncovering that the Martian soil contains about 2% water by weight, according to space.com. And each of these discoveries adds on to the possibility that water still exists on Mars today. The scientific observations and evidence points towards Mars' inner core cooling off and a weakening magnetic field over the years. This decline of maintaining heat and a dense atmosphere led to the evaporation of Mars' water. Vocalization and a hot core ceased to exist. This decline also has to do with Mars' smaller size when compared to the Earth, and its atmosphere was thinner, and all of this leads to water evaporating, not returning to the planet's surface, or being retained in the Martian atmosphere for very long. The highest potential source of water is the ice caps located in the northern and southern poles of Mars. These poles are covered with carbon dioxide ice and snow that shrinks and expands with the Martian seasons. As the temperatures increase on the planet, there have been observations of ice evaporating and some exposure of water ice. There has been strong evidence that an underground lake exists beneath Mars' south pole. A correction to the interview: the underground lake is believed to be around 12.5 miles wide and 1 mile deep underground, while the South Pole itself is 124 miles wide. This lake, which was founded in 2015, was met with criticism by several scientists, citing that it potentially has a volcano under the polar cap heating the lake. Thanks to advanced radar sounder investigations seen here on Earth for Antarctica and Canada, we're able to see high-intensity reflections from the red planet that proves that this lake is not a fluke, and that there are several smaller lakes surrounding this major lake. One of the reasons these lakes are able to exist in such drastic cold conditions is not from an underground volcano, but what is most likely presumed to be a heavy amount of salt. The ultimate reason why there is the hunt to find concrete evidence of water is that it could point towards a potential source of life. The high concentration of salt may be off-putting and may not even support life, but there's always a possibility that it could. Over time, the scientific consensus has changed through the advancements such as radar sounding technology, satellites, and sending rovers to Mars like the Curiosity rover has helped us understand more about planets. Each of these technologies have advanced the human understanding of the existence of water on Mars. Even if water is not a biosignature, each new understanding prepares humans for the future mission to land a person on the red planet in the near future and begin the new hunt for life.